Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Live from the GBM studios in Belize City, it's Open Your Eyes. Start your morning right with your hosts, April Martinez and Desani Caetano.
Good morning.
And welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Desani Caetano.
And I'm April Martinez.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
April.
Coming
So,
off the heels of a long weekend.
Yes. Let's jump into our show lineup quickly and then we could have a brief discussion on all
course.
things that took place over the weekend. So, from Belize to Florida, the impact of Sister City program. That's one of our first conversations this morning. And then we're going to be joined by the PSU president who's going to be discussing the impact of SARA on the tax department's employees, followed by renewing the standard of Belizean hospitality with the Belize Tourism Board, and lastly, exploring the future of Belizean property in the 21st century. Those are 4 topics that we're going to be discussing this morning throughout the course of our show. Good morning once again, April.
Good morning, Isani. And it's a long weekend. I feel like people are refreshed, but there are so many things that happened over the course of the weekend. There were a lot of celebrations, there were a lot of incidents and so forth that took place here in Belize and international.
Yes.
So before you leave your house this morning, here are 5 things that you need to know. Kicking things off with today, today's central bank officially rolls out their new notes. So if you have your bank cards ready and you want to go to an ATM, maybe you can get some blue notes that have George Price on it. And secondly, we have the well-known Tyrone Mayen executed in Belize City on Emancipation Day. Belize makes a cultural display at the 2025 World Expo in Japan. The trend Maya, could extend to Belize free trade zone. And finally, KTV, the remix countdown to Gospel Night tomorrow. Sani, there were so many incidents that happened over the weekend, but let's start with today. We should be...
We're not going to discuss the incidents just yet.
Yes.
Today is a historic day.
It is a day
right?
of
It's the first
remembrance,
in our
yes.
lifetime where we are seeing the transition from Belize's colonial past to its present and future.
Oh.
And this is being done with the rollout of the GCP, and of course the Philip Golson,
Yes.
right? The GCP is a George Cadle Price.
Yes.
He represents a $100 note.
And Philip Golson will be on the
$50 note.
Yes.
And so there are several activities that are going to be held today as part of this campaign, so to speak. I know that the Central Bank of Belize, which is the regulator, will be teaming up with the media later this morning.
Okay.
As we go out into the field, so to speak, to see how Belizeans and business owners will be taking to this new currency rollout. But there are a few very important things that we need to touch on, April, in terms of reiterating what is taking place here and what stands to be going forward.
Yeah.
The Belizean dollar will not devalue.
That's
Can't
first
stress
and
that
foremost.
enough,
Yes.
right? So for those out there who are conspiracy theorists and who believe they know or what have you, let's dispel the myth once and for all. The financial stance of our currency does not move from where
No,
it
not
is.
at
As a
all.
matter of fact, the representatives from Central Bank have been on the couch with us and they've repeatedly said, look, we are pegged 2-1, that's not going nowhere until unless there's some major thing that happens across the world that kind of shakes things up.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that Belize, this is a part of our newfounded heritage. We're moving into an era, like Isani said, that we've denounced our colonial past and we're trying to move forward as the nation, an independent nation of Belize. You know, the Queen being on our dollar isn't a unique thing, right? There are several other republics across the world that have her face on their note, but you know, having a George Price or a Philip Golson note will be very unique and intricate to us. So I think that's something very historic. It's something to take pride into. So like I said, if you are around your ATM throughout the course of the day and you want to go in and see if it works, the new notes should be the George Price and the Philip Golson notes.
And of course, if you're a collector too, you might want to take your first crispy blue, your crispy 50, and put that in your collection. I know people who, well, Belizeans for that matter, who have done quite a good job actually in terms of being able to collect our currency, our money over a period of time. And I've always been impressed by people who are able to collect money and have a showcase of it. Yeah. Perhaps places they visited around the world, perhaps to tell the story of the country that they're from. In this case, the notes that represent or depict Belize from its British Honduras days.
I've seen those ones. I thought that you were going to say for people to save their old Belize notes because once it's stopped in circulation.
The thing here though, right, is that while I came to work this morning and I put some change in my pocket, I'm thinking when I go to the bank or the credit union or wherever else later, I'm not going to necessarily be getting what I'm used to, which is the Queen Elizabeth, right? I'm going to get the Philip Golson or the George Price. But it'll take a number of years for the Queen Elizabeth to actually phase out. Right? So that when you make a deposit, for instance, and you're turning in Queen Elizabeth, when you go back to that financial institution to withdraw, you're not going to be getting back the Queen Elizabeth, you're going to be getting back the GCP, right?
And it's also something to note, the Queen Elizabeth will still definitely be used, right? It's just something for our citizens to remember. Yes,
it's
while
yes,
your money is still going to be worth it if you have the Queen Elizabeth on your dollar bill still. But you know, Isani, this is, like you said, a historical moment for us. We're going to be keeping a watch on the news to see how your day rolls out in the field in terms of people going to the ATM and so forth to see this new dollar bill. But just keeping it in terms of, you know, celebration and so forth. Belize celebrated over the weekend. Apart from Emancipation Day, they had the Belize National Day over at the World Expo in Japan. And we saw our Prime Minister give a speech at the opening ceremony. There were different cultural displays of Belizean heritage. We had the marimba being played. I think I saw Coconut Boy and Denise Carballo on stage. Joshua Rana, Alex Evans, they were there giving these cultural displays and items during the opening ceremony and so forth. But it was basically to show this diplomatic relationship that Belize and Japan had on this National Day. However, the expo is currently ongoing for 8 months. So I believe we've had Belizean participants from Beltrade and BTP going over to Japan from the beginning of this year, if I'm not mistaken, to showcase what Belize has to offer as a part of this World Expo.
So all of this is great, right? Putting Belize out there on the international stage and what have you. But perhaps we can reflect a bit on what took place here over the weekend in terms of Emancipation Day. Because that was equally important as part of our heritage, right? And so on Emancipation Day, Belizeans actually remembered, for those who are descendants of people who were enslaved, they would have taken that moment to appreciate what that meant in terms of their ancestors being freed from this bondage, right? Here in Belize, I think it's still something that's growing on us.
Yeah.
And I think one of the juxtapositions that was made that I saw, I believe it would have been either yesterday or the day before, is that as opposed to perhaps participating in the events that were, scheduled for the 1st of August, a lot of people went to Melchor and a lot of people went to Chetamal, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking that, but I'm simply saying perhaps we should take a little bit more time to be able to appreciate the day and remember those who came before us who literally toiled and were held against their will to be able to, in a manner, begin the development of this country.
Yeah. So I've participated in the Emancipation Day activities for the past 3 years because it's still new to us, right? And I've slowly been seeing the like a wave kind of persons that come and attend the activities versus persons that don't. And I can definitely see that this year in particular, we didn't see as many people out there and participating and having this discourse. I find that a lot of the times when we bring up the topic of enslavement in Belize, Belizeans they don't want to talk about it, right? It's something that is, I'm not sure if it's taboo. I'm not sure if it's just because it's not necessarily a conversation that people want to have. It's almost something that they want to forget. They want to forget that this was a part of our history that happened, and we don't want to talk about the Black struggle. But the reality is that Black struggle is what made and laid the foundations of industrial Belize.
Yeah.
You can't talk about the rise and progress of the Belizean economy without talking about enslavement in Belize.
And that's what I was alluding to earlier when I said it forms sort of the foundation. As bad and as horrific as that was, but you can't pretend that it's not a part of where we're from, so to speak.
And if you're talking about our place in the Caribbean, right, and our relationship with the other CARICOM nations, that is the common denominator.
Yeah.
That is the thing that we all have in common.
We're talking about Barbados,
right,
Jamaica.
Indeed.
We're talking about sugar, tobacco,
logwood,
yeah.
Right. And what I thought was incredibly impressive for this year's Emancipation Day is that the Museum of Belizean Art had a display, I believe, on their second floor with items and art expressions from Ecumenical High School, where their students, I think in third farm, did an array of art forms that kind of had the students thinking about what enslavement and emancipation means to them, and kind of embodying that in several ways through art and expressing it through art. And I thought it was incredible. So it was just something, and I'm glad you brought it up, Isane, for us to talk about Emancipation Day. A lot of Belizeans still don't know that it is a holiday here in Belize. And of course, like you rightfully said, to remember that part of our past.
But yes, so while others, or many of us, were enjoying and celebrating Emancipation Day, there was a high-profile execution that took place on that very same morning, right? Where Tyrone Main, no stranger to the law, was gunned down on Sarstone Street. Now, where this incident happened was not too far from where the elderly woman and her disabled son were killed a few weeks ago, right? And perhaps one could draw certain parallels in terms of the kind of activities that are taking place in that part of Belize City, the gang activities I refer to, right? And so while Mr. Main, he has been in the news on numerous occasions, right? As someone who was perhaps very active in the criminal underworld, his fate caught up with him on Friday. But the reason we're having this discussion is for two reasons. Before we get into the discussion of the 13th Amendment and how proponents of it would look at this and say, well, this is the reason why we need to have it. I'm looking at the idea or the likelihood of, instead of amending the Constitution to reflect changes with the 13th Amendment, why don't our legislators and our lawmakers look at perhaps a model that has been employed in places like Honduras, for instance, and this is the direction I'm going. I was informed fairly recently by someone who was in the diplomatic community for a while that in places like Honduras, it is strictly against the law to have two riders on a motorcycle. So you know where I'm going with this, right? Oftentimes what we're seeing recently is that a lot of these crimes are being committed by motorcyclists, right? When you look at what happened last week, and this is just the most recent example, when you look at what took place last week in Lord's Bank, where 5 persons were shot and a 20-year-old lost his life, the alleged perpetrators appeared on the scene on a motorcycle, one driving and the shooter is presumably in the back.
Yeah.
When you look at what took place on August 1st in the case of Tyrone, Maine, it is reported that a motorcycle with 2 persons on it also appeared on the scene and let loose a hail of bullets that ultimately took this man's life, right? And I can point to several other incidents where you have shooters who show up on a motorcycle, do what they do, and they make good their escape. So why not consider that as part of some of the legislative changes that we should be dealing with, right? Now, to the 13th Amendment. Now, I'll say this much. I'm disappointed in the turnout of the consultations. There have only been 2. I don't know that they'll have any more, right? Simply because, well, if you're for or against it, that's your prerogative. But it's part of a national discussion.
Yeah.
The discourse would involve proponents and opponents, right? And being able to flesh out the positions that are being taken.
Yeah.
So that when you look at what took place in Belmopan last week, where it was slim pickings, to say the least, like if you had 12 people, you had a room full, right? That's how Palenque it was, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that that bodes well for this kind of a conversation, simply because once it is passed and ratified and what have you, the entire country falls under that revision, that part of our constitution that has been amended to reflect these changes. It's not only a Baca Martins thing or a Yabra thing for argument's sake. It's from Corozal all the way to Punta Gorda, Toledo.
We had Dickie Bradley on the show last week, and you would have known that he said it right here on the couch. It's already gazetted, so that means it's already foregoing. So what is the purpose of having the conversation with the communities now, right now? You know?
Well, if that is true, then essentially what we've had with the past 2 consultations are academic exercises where we're just going through the motions to say that we've actually had the public consultation, right? And to what I'm saying, right, the incident with Tyrone, Maine, some would say now, you see why we need it?
Yeah.
To be able to effectively address certain instances of crime and violence, extreme crime and violence like this one. But others would argue and say, well, no, there's another way that you could target those who are specific to these incidents without having to change the existing status quo where all of us enjoy certain freedoms and what have you.
Yeah. Well, the conversation surrounding the 13th Amendment, Isani, I think it's far from over, regardless if it's gazetted or not. I am disappointed, however, in the turnout of the last public meeting, as you said. But given the location and where it was held, I don't know if many persons would have attended. And that's not to say it wasn't in a public space. It was just one of those places where if it's in the president conference room at UB, where the space is already small and limited, I don't know if it would have been this inviting, welcoming space. That's just my opinion.
Look, I'm up in the air on that, right? And I'll use my personal experience in private capacity, right? So I do consultancy work on the side and what have you, and in some cases I've had to have public consultations, right? And you send out invitations, you advertise, you publish, you do everything to raise awareness that this particular session or this meeting is being held. You choose a public space where everybody could go, right? Maybe a community hall or whatever the case may be. And even though what you're sharing with the people who stand to be affected would be directly impacted, they still don't show up, right? because we don't have that culture where, okay, there's a public meeting being held at the Civic Center for argument's sake. It affects every Belize City person, then we should go out there and find out what that meeting is about and how I am affected by it.
Yeah.
We don't. We simply allow things to just take their course and then we complain about it in the back end.
I don't know what it would take for us to become less complicit as a society.
It's tough trying to get Belizean people to come together for a cause
It
other than
is.
partying and
And then it goes back to what Dickie was saying about people having interest in other things and gatherings for other things. But finally, and speaking of just gatherings, it wasn't a pick at us, but it was just to safely say that we have been able to successfully bring people together through KTV. And it would be amiss of me to not mention that tomorrow is KTV the remix. It's going to be the 5th episode, I believe.
Gospel.
We are doing gospel night, which is also a very favorite night over at KTV, and it is their first battle round. So they're literally going to be battling it out for their spot for the following week. So tune in to KTV The Remix over at the Bliss for Performing Arts at 8 p.m. or catch it live here on Greater Belize Media. But moving into our eye on the weather, let's get that update from the folks at the National Meteorological Service.
Alright, so our weather forecast for today, as mentioned by April, is brought to you courtesy of the National Meteorological Service. So this is what we're looking at today. It's going to be, the skies are going to be, mostly sunny skies today, and shower activity will be isolated. Tonight, skies will be partly cloudy to cloudy, with a few showers and isolated thunderstorms, mainly over south and some coastal areas. All right, today's temperatures along the coast, it will be 89 degrees Fahrenheit, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Inland, it'll be 94 degrees Fahrenheit, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. And in the hills, it's going to be 82 degrees Fahrenheit and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so the extended forecast for Tuesday calls for 84 degrees along the coast, 86 in the hills. On Wednesday, it'll be 87 along the coast and 92 in the hills. On Thursday, it will be 88 degrees along the coast and 93 in the hills. And of course, on Friday, it will be 89 along the coast and 94 in the hills. All right, so for the astronomical forecast, sunrise is at 5:32 a.m. It will set at 6:24 p.m. later today. The moon rose at 1:54 a.m. and it will set at 2:50 p.m. this afternoon. All right, so the marine conditions, the sea state will be slight. Winds will be blowing from the east at 5 to 10 knots. And the tides, today's low will be at 1:42 p.m. The high will be at 8:03 p.m. The lows as well will be at 11:56 p.m. and tomorrow's high will be at 6:25 a.m. All right, so that does it for our eye on the weather. Once again, brought to you by the National Meteorological Service. April?
All right, thank you so much for that update, Isani. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it's all about Belize to Florida, the impact of Sister City program.
Oh man, one more scroll and my data is done.
Wait, who said anything about running out? Smart just dropped a more powerful plan that now includes social media data so you can scroll till your fingers cramp.
Enjoy free social media data now included in our Flex Choice and Select postpaid plans.
Visit any Smart showroom to sign up today because connectivity just got even better. Smart, bringing people together.
Don't miss the ultimate singing showdown. It's KTV The Remix Season 7 every Tuesday night at 8. Live from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. One stage, one voice, one chance to win $10,000. Get your tickets for just $5 at GBM Studios and Coney Drive or 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. It's music, talent, and entertainment for the whole family. Don't miss it. KTV The Remix Season 7. Tune in, turn up, and sing along every Tuesday night at 8. Only on Greater Belize Media.
And welcome back. Our first conversation this morning, we have been joined in studio by Mayor Bernard Wagner, and he's accompanied by Mayor Wayne Messam from Miramar, Florida. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
So we're discussing the importance of sister city relationships. In this case, we're looking at Belize City and Miramar. Why is it important for there to be this kind of collaborative approach in terms of addressing issues perhaps that are affecting both cities in this case?
Yes. Well, again, thank you again, Isani, April, for having us here, and welcome, Wayne, and your team. It's I know our relationship with Miramar really spanned over a decade, and it has been in a sort of consummation, hibernating, getting everything together for when we signed that Sister City Agreement last year in Miramar. Mm-hmm. It was an exciting time for all of us and my team, being able to finally have that MOU officially signed that we're a sister city. And from there, it was essentially about planting a seed of growth, of shared values, of community, of driving the sort of change we would want to see in our city. Miramar is similar to Belize City. It is a very close-knit community. It shares some of the same values such as Belize City. I guess there are like 31 square miles. Belize City is 13 square miles. We have a very small population. Their population is about 134,000 when last I checked. But the sort of synergy that can be developed out of these sort of relationship, like I always tell the mayor, it's about knowledge sharing. When we visited last year, we were able to see what worked for them in disaster risk management, local economic development, culture, tourism. And so we build on it, and it's not a one-off type of affair. It's a relationship that grows just as a plant grows.
How did this relationship get started? Because we tend to have these MOUs with sister city states, but what inspired this relationship apart from our many similarities?
Well, in the city of Miramar, being a very international city, we have many diasporas in the city of Miramar, and Belizeans are very important in our community. So the city of Miramar, we really wanted to formalize our relationships with international cities who has expressed an interest. And since 2013, we had an original MOU, but it wasn't an official sister city relationship. So the city of Miramar, we established a sister city format with a scorecard, and because of the long relationship with Belize, the Belizean Chamber of Commerce, and that relationship
relationship was very mature, and Belize City scored very high. And with those shared values, Belize City actually became the city of Miramar's first official sister city. So we consummated that last year. Mayor Wagner and his great team and our economic development and housing department, and now we are here. And as the mayor said, we share so many values from disaster recovery and preparedness, from ensuring that our next generation are prepared for this economy as we see it today. There are so many ways that we can collaborate in so many fronts and so many sectors, and we're just really excited for the relationship.
From the point of view of municipal governance and what have you, how do, in this case, Mayor Wagner, the residents of Belize City benefit from such a partnership?
It benefits in multiple ways. The mere fact that we are able to learn from each other. Many times we look at relationships just for the tangible benefits, but not looking deeper in the sort of relationship, the intangible benefits. Take for instance, we have a youth shadow council that is a very integral part of Belize City framework of youth development. And within the scope of that program, we, along with Miramar, is currently working on an exchange with two of the top young shadow council out of that group to do educational exchange in Miramar come the ending of this summer. So that sort of activity, blended with the sort of local economic development, what you can learn in respect to disaster risk management, what you can learn from Miramar in respect to governance, very, very important, what you can learn from them in terms of culture, tourism. Those are the sort of wins for me that is satisfactory for me and my city, and we continue to nurture it, because we want to see innovation, we want to see the sort of urban development that is occurring in Miramar. Miramar is a very forward-thinking city, well planned out, and so we can learn how do they drive urbanization and sustainable urbanization, I should say, and take that step from them.
If you can perhaps explain maybe some of the details of the MOU and how both cities are going to perhaps benefit in terms of education or commerce or industrialization. How can you?
Great question. In the city of Miramar, we are very aggressive as it relates to economic development and trade and commerce opportunities. The city of Miramar, we have a foreign trade zone where there's tariff-free opportunities for imports. So for example, let's say if you have in your agricultural sector which would like to export products to the US, Miramar, we are equidistant between Port Everglades, which is in Fort Lauderdale, and Port of Miami, 30 minutes from both ports. Our foreign trade zone, we have space where your farmers and your farm sector or your ag sector can assemble Belizean products right in our city and distribute them throughout the United States tariff-free, and that can be a great opportunity. So when Mayor Wagner and some of your private sector partners may travel to the city of Miramar, we can put them in touch with not only with warehouse spacing, but in touch with our U.S. Department of Commerce to be able to effectuate those type of relationships. So there's many ways, and how that benefits Belizeans is that there's export opportunities. How it benefits the city of Miramar is that our residents have an opportunity to either lease space. That opportunity can create jobs locally in our community. So it's a win-win situation. That is just one example. There's other sectors as well, as Mayor Wagner mentioned earlier with our youth exchange. We all struggle with having our younger generation to really take advantage of the trade sectors, the engineering sectors. These are very challenging sectors. They may not necessarily be the most attractive today with social media. They want everything quick and easy and fast, but to celebrate those young minds that are very gifted, to steer them to those areas. So as development and infrastructure is increasing here in Belizean City, as tourism increases in this region, even in our area where we need those skills and those assets to ensure that our city remains vibrant, remains competitive. So it's important for us to exchange those ideas and to communicate to the younger generation on how important as well as how lucrative it can be if they seize that moment and opportunity.
What has been the buy-in from the Belize Chamber of Commerce in terms of this partnership and how the business community can take full advantage of what's on the table here?
They have been very integral. As a matter of fact, one of our sessions today is with the Belize Chamber of Commerce. When we were in Miramar, we were also hosted by the American Chamber of Commerce to see where we bring in entrepreneurs, we bring in business people to see in what area would work for them. And so that is an important part of our session here during the course of this week, to ensure that we connect and we put the people that will drive the sort of change we want together in a room and see what can come out of those sessions.
I would like our viewers to get a full picture, right? Because I think when we think MOU, we think that there is going to be this tangible exchange. We're going to see finances flow, right? And so for the better understanding of our viewers, can you share some of the projects maybe that have already started to take place because of this memorandum of understanding?
Like I mentioned earlier, the first step is the session that we will have this exchange with our students. We visited, when we were in Miramar, a technical institute, and we were so amazed at the technical institute. Isani, you are looking at mechanical, electrical, engineering, chemical engineering, aviation. Miramar is big on aviation, and those are some of the areas that are very scarce in Belize City, as you may know. We had the Belize Technical College, and we were just discussing that yesterday when that used to serve its purpose. Unfortunately, it could not continue, but we see the need for that sort of education to come back in Belize, where you are looking at engineers, you are looking at cabinet making. That is what drive a sort of any community. And if you have that scarcity now, we can begin to plant that seed April, where we could have this exchange annually with the Miramar team and see how we could jumpstart to get back to where we were.
What I would add is that perhaps one of the most important and significant aspects of the MOU and the agreement is that when there is exchange, you're not alone.
Right.
You have points of contacts. You have individuals and entities that you can reach directly to get the information and the resources that are available. Can you imagine just going to another country in another city, starting from scratch with no relationship? The relationships are very important. When you can call our economic development and housing department and say, listen, we want to be a part of your upcoming Coffee and Chocolate Expo, so we can get our products over. In fact, the Belizean diaspora is at the heart of that very successful expo, where we have many countries, many brands that come over, and you have Belizeans at the heart of helping to organize that. So that's what the relationship is. So although there is not a direct financial exchange, because that's not really what the purpose is. It's about creating pathways to be able to engage in these areas for success. So we're really excited, and the relationships are what you make it. So we want to make sure, and coming from both mayorships, that the relationship is there. We have resources available to exchange information, because our goal is to ensure that our Miramarians are successful and Belizeans are successful when they choose to engage with each other.
What is your, Mayor Wagner, what is your key or primary takeaway, having gone through this entire process in terms of the consummation and where we are now? Something that you can implement in your administration?
Every day I implement what I see, Isani, in different jurisdiction that I visit. Like just last week, this wind down that we had was something I saw abroad. And I'm telling the mayor yesterday, I was very impressed with his First Friday event that he hosted just last week, right?
Yes, yeah.
In Miramar, where he brought in many of the young entrepreneurs, and they had like a sort of space where it's a different setting. It's not a formal setting, but they would come up and they would have discussions with the mayor, the young entrepreneurs, what makes their business thrive, how the city could help them more, what they expect from the city. And I believe that sort of coming together where the mayor is able to sit with young entrepreneurs in a space where they could talk freely about what is driving them and what are some of the challenges they face. I love that show. I might even copy your show here. But speak about the show, Mayor. Yeah.
But that's what it's really about, you know. On the first Fridays, we call it Network and Chill. So we understand the importance of the next generation of business leaders and job creators and producers to have the resources to be successful. So what we do is we bring in prominent entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs, and I have like a fireside conversation to talk about their journey, their expresses, their failures, their successes, so that the young entrepreneurs can see that they're not alone, because they see the success, but they don't know the journey that individual had to go through. And it's in a very relaxed environment with DJ, music, light bites, and a very, very welcoming environment. So it's a series. And something else we talked about was that no matter where you are, if you're in the United States or if you're here in Belize, it's really about the constituents, the families. We all have mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. We want the best for our families, and wellness and physical fitness. We talked about, you know, just from government setting the example that we should live healthy and healthy lives. And there's just so many easy things to do for the community to come together and do yoga or Zumba or go for a walk, or things that are kind of organized in our public spaces to kind of bring that sense of community, and those are the types of exchanges that really build community. So so it's a great conversation, and we look forward to maturing the relationship.
I think one of the cooler things about Belize City that it sets apart from all of the other municipalities in the country is that it does have that urban culture where people do come together for these sorts of conversations and expressions. But I wanted to take the conversation in a different direction, as you spoke about disaster risk reduction as part of one of your themes. You both know Belize is a low-lying country. We're underwater, and I would imagine that the same goes for Miramar. What are some of the projects, discussions that have been going on between these two sisters cities that could help us to manage the disasters a little bit better? We have, of course, our hurricanes and our floodings here in Belize City. I imagine you also have the same in Miramar. What have those discussions been like?
Well, one of the things in the city of Miramar, we are often visited by cities from around the Caribbean region. For example, we've hosted not only just Belize City, but Kingston. And with disasters, the best way to recover from disasters is how you prepare. The city of Miramar, we had a Category 5 rated building, our emergency operating center, which is in our police department, where we have an emergency operating center where we prepare for these disasters. We ensure that our infrastructure is correct, is proper. We educate the community in terms of pruning their trees, making sure that we don't have debris blocking storm drainage, catch basins, so water can move where it needs to move. Ensuring every individuals have proper hardening apparatus for their homes in terms of boarding up their windows, having a plan. Don't wait until the storm comes, be prepared. So it's those type of things, and we have protocols. So when we have, for example, if the emergency response teams from Belize City comes to visit Miramar, we have kits and how we can exchange that information, and vice versa. We have solutions, you all have solutions on what works and best practices, and we're able to merge those resources together so that we can prepare to protect our communities.
Mayor Wessam, how long are you going to be here, and what's your itinerary like in terms of being able to meet with various members of our society?
Well, we have a great lineup coming up, and the mayor can speak more specific on towards the itinerary, but I can tell you what, I woke up this morning a little bit before 5. I'm an athlete, I run. It was so refreshing to see, Belizeans riding their bicycles and walking along the city, as I did 3 quick miles before this interview. I've already met many of your constituents just casually.
Man, my son is an ex-NFL player. He used to play in college.
Yes.
He was a star in college, and he's always telling me he runs so many miles, and I'm saying I can't run the miles, but
maybe he's a good basketball player, right?
but certainly the itinerary for the team here is about meeting the Belize Chamber of Commerce, meeting Beltrade, meeting the Minister of Culture, which, because those are some of the areas: tourism, culture, local economic development. How do we begin to merge these two relationships? We have some visit to some of the cultural areas, Altunha. I believe they visit UB as well for the students' interaction. We also have a trip to the Keys. We have a cultural night for them as well tomorrow night. So it's a really full-fledged. We'll visit some of the key development areas that we have going on in the city. We want to show them our e-mobility or the pumping station and that sort of, to see what we are doing in respect to climate resilience and ensuring that we are prepared for any sort of disaster that would come from hurricanes. So we share the same challenges. That is a key, that the two cities share the same qualities, they share the same challenges as well, and so we're looking forward to really nurturing this relationship and having it work for all our residents, both residents of
Mayor Wessam, what's your initial observation having arrived in Belize City?
Oh, just the hospitality from the moment we landed. The way our team has been received, the hospitality has just been so genuine. But we didn't expect anything different, because your Belizeans that live in our city, share and express the same values and culture. So, and that's what's so amazing about the relationship. And I think, and I'm confident that the relationship has already had a great start. And then as we continue to organically connect stakeholders together, long after Mayor Wagner's, myself, are out of our positions, that it will continue to go because of that organic relationship. So we're looking forward to the rest of the trip.
Well, I hope that you get to have some wonderful Belizean cuisine.
Yes.
I know you're enjoying the temperature, the music, and so forth, but I know you handle the man, right?
I will. Trust me.
Well, thank you so much for visiting us this morning, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Have a great rest of your trip, Mayor Wessam, and we hope to hear more about this project as it continues.
Thank you, April. Thank you, Isani.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Reggie.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more Open Your Eyes. Don't go away.
We at Fulltech Systems understand that technology isn't just a tool, it's a game changer. At home, smart devices and AI are revolutionizing daily life. In education, tech is making learning more interactive and accessible for students and educators alike. For businesses and government, it's driving innovation, streamlining operations, and unlocking growth, leveraging tech for better services, infrastructure, and security. At Fulltech Systems, we help you thrive with cutting-edge solutions, partnering with leaders like Dell, HP, Microsoft, APC, Fortinet, Cisco, and Tomy Inc. We deliver the right products for your needs, whether it's boosting efficiency, improving customer engagement, or scaling operations. Connect with us and let's drive innovation together. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you come for the price, but stay for the service.
Don't miss the ultimate singing showdown. It's KTV The Remix Season 7 every Tuesday night at 8, live from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. One stage, one voice, one chance to win $10,000. Get your tickets for just $5 at GBM Studios in Coney Drive or 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. It's music, talent, and entertainment for the whole family. Don't miss it. KTV The Remix Season 7. Tune in, turn up, and sing along every Tuesday night at 8. Only on Greater Belize Media.
This is the new era of the Mexican Caribbean. A whole spectrum of colors and hues, multi-dimensional cuisine, holographic beaches. The true new era is within you.
Don't miss the ultimate singing showdown. It's KTV The Remix Season 7 every Tuesday night at 8, live from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. One stage, one voice, one chance to win $10,000. Get your tickets for just $5 at GBM Studios in Coney Drive or 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. It's music, talent, and entertainment for the whole family. Don't miss it. KTV The Remix Season 7. Tune in, turn up, and sing along every Tuesday night at 8. Only on Greater Belize Media.
My name is Leomar Langsert and I'm a teacher and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is to see if the features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer with these online that Belize Bank offered is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. Joining us for our second conversation is the Public Service Union President, Mr. Dean Flowers. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And of course, we're having a deep dive conversation on the possible impacts of the Semi-Autonomous Revenue Authority, SARA, on the tax department employees. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Good morning, Belize, and looking forward to see if we can make sense of the proposal.
So, last week, you met with the employees of the Belize Tax Service Department in what appeared to have been a marathon session, right? To go over the immediate concerns that they had. Coming out of that particular session, what would you say was the most important point that was being raised from their end?
Okay, so from the employees end, of course, it has to be what happens to me. What happens to me? Several of these employees would have recently suffered a quote-unquote best fit scenario in 2019, and as far as I'm aware, that amalgamation process which brought the Income Tax Department and the Belize, the General Sales Tax Department together continues. I'm oblivious, or I certainly don't know that that project has come to an end. The union would have fought in 2019, 2020 for a seat on the project steering committee that would have brought those two departments together. And while we've not had the number of meetings that are in fact required in accordance with the project, I certainly don't know that the project has concluded, and that has been one of the most unstable project, if I can say that, in terms of the high rate of turnover that existed in the project execution unit. Multiple project managers, multiple finance officers, multiple personnel. So there was several disruptions in that within that amalgamation. So that is really it. Several officers who were already perhaps on a career path in GST or on a career path in income tax, that was disrupted. So clearly you amalgamate two services, you have an organogram. There was this suggestion that everybody would be best fit, but clearly that has not happened. And so persons who perhaps would have been next in line to take over a department or a unit clearly had to settle to be just an auditor at income tax player. So people are still reeling from that. They're still recovering from that. And here we are now changing, attempting to introduce a new structure, which again is much more unfavorable from what we're gathering in terms of what has been disclosed to us.
Was there any conversation in terms of a slow transition into this, where they would have several training ships of certain employees to be able to kind of transition into this new service that they will be providing?
No. Let me put point blank out here that if we look at section 106 of the Belize Constitution, and if we look at section 73 and 74 of the Public Service Regulations, it mandates, it requires consultation with the representative of workers in the event you are taking decisions, changing processes, or taking any decision that would adversely affect workers. The Constitution mandates that. That is not mandated by the director of the Belize Tax Services Department. She has no place in that. That requires the employer representative, which obviously would be the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Public Service. And if you look specifically at the regulation, it says that the Ministry of Public Service is the authority that is vested to oversee anything that would adversely affect workers in the public sector. Now, ironically, the meeting that we were invited to be informed of this, not to be consulted, to be informed that this is what will happen on July the 16th, the Ministry of Public Service, through an administrative officer and the Director of Human Resource Management, was present in that meeting. And the question was posed to them. So what is your position on this? And the response was, I have never heard of this. As a matter of fact, this was only brought to my attention a week ago in a cost savings committee meeting, I believe, was the response from the director. So the very ministry that is responsible to look after the welfare and to ensure that any change in organizational structure, in management structure, anything that adversely affects or positively affects the employees, was oblivious. And so the Director General and the Ministry of Finance, therefore, has been acting in isolation of the Ministry of Public Service, in isolation of the workers' representative, and in isolation of the workers. Because I posed the question, have you spoken to officers about what you're attempting to do with them? No, we wanted to bring it to your attention first. The union is not the entity that ultimately stands to be affected. The union ought to be consulted so that then we can weigh in on what should be a seamless transition if we go that route, or how to mitigate any adverse effects that will happen on these workers. But It's a dictatorial approach.
What I'm getting from this entire scenario thus far is the fact that there are way too many questions than answers, even though the Director General is on record trying to explain how this transition will happen. You're representing the public service and those who form the membership of the PSU, but I'm also understanding that the business community has serious questions as well, because when you consolidate all of these processes under SARA, they too have their questions in terms of how information will be shared and the security of that information, how certain transactions will proceed going forward, and so on and so forth. And I don't know that, in all honesty, I've heard enough from the Minister of the Public Service with respect to these proposed sweeping changes. It seems as if though there's a sort of a dormancy on this matter.
Yeah, I want to put out there that I was a bit disappointed with his response in terms of what happens to these people.
Yeah.
But again, his response demonstrates that he himself has not been fully apprised of the impact that SARA will have on 236, I believe, public officers within. Now, I'm glad to hear that the business community also has concern, because as I previously mentioned, there was an amalgamation of 2 departments in 2019. What was the purpose of that amalgamation? We were told that there was duplication of efforts across GST and income tax. So we could consolidate them, we could reduce costs, we could build efficiency, we could, and the Belizean taxpayers are now on the hook $30 million to bring these 2 departments together, to clean up the data, to now have one consolidated database. Are we there? That is the question that the Director General should have been explaining to the Belizean people when she attempted to disrespect the workers who have now tasked the union to speak up on their behalf, to say that we're on a media, some kind of show. This is the same person who wants to hypocritically state that staff is at the center of this transition when you have not even consulted with your staff or their representative. And now that people are calling you into question. Let's go back to 2019 nonetheless. What has been the result of that investment? What has been the rate of return? Isani, are people getting their tax refund now on a timely basis?
No. We're still stuck at where we were.
It's worse. It's worse. So what really came out of this amalgamation? Have there been proper cross-training of staff? What came out from the staff is that they continue to operate in silos. Who the GST continue to be that for their specialty. And I asked, but wait, part of the amalgamation was to be an extensive cross-training, did not occur. The response was, then tell you sit with each other and learn from each other. No proper structure, nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm challenging the management team. I'm challenging the Ministry of Finance. Come out and tell us what has been the result. I'm challenging them. Ask the business community, is registering your business now easier? Is interfacing with the database now easier? Is compliance most easier? Has Belizeans achieved a reduction in the cost to collect, thereby increasing our revenue flows for better public service in health and education? Have we instead created an inflated Belize Tax Services Department with another layer of top management, creating anomalies across the public sector, not only in the management structure, but also in the IT structure? All these people are not paid on the same grade as their peers in the wider public service. And so these people also stand to be negatively impacted when you create a SARA, which will now create 400 new job descriptions, which will now require you to prove that you were qualified to hold these posts in the first place, especially where data and IT security is concerned. Because from what I've been told, none of these people possess a master's or the kind of qualification, but they were brought over, placed on a higher pay scale than their peers in CETO and in the other government ministries, and now they themselves will not be fit to meet the requirements to fill those posts under a statutory body. And that is only, I'm only referring to them.
But therein lies the primary concern of the business community, is that these very same individuals will be tasked with handling sensitive information that has to do with their respective businesses. And if we're talking about the fact that they may very well be unqualified for those particular roles, then it's almost as if though I'm trusting you with information that you could use to harm me ultimately.
That is the reality. That is the reality, and that's what we're saying. And it needs to be said, because I believe the director would have also said, well, we had engaged in irresponsible remarks. No, we're holding you accountable. We called you out, and we called out the former Prime Minister and his administration, who appointed somebody who was not trained in tax administration or tax supervision or tax application. You were not trained. You're an IT specialist, and yet you were brought in, created an anomaly where your pay scale is concerned, to amalgamate two tax departments, and then to further complicate that misfit. This administration would have issued, I believe, 2 contracts already to somebody who was not fit for purpose. And that's a fact, since they want to speak facts. You don't know what it is like to run a tax department. A bad decision was made. We need to now ask her, okay, you oversee this amalgamation. Why the high rate of turnover in the project execution unit? And if you have a high rate of turnover in your project execution unit, what project did you really execute over the last 5 years then? Where's your staff morale? Your staff morale is on an all-time low. There's a toxic environment. There is no proper reporting. There is no data that is driving this new structural change for SARA. Absolutely no data, just emotions. And when the question was asked, and I want to say to the Belizean people, before that meeting on the July the 16th, I asked them, who is taking the minutes of this meeting? And they pointed to 2 individuals in that room. It's signed today is August the 4th. They refused to provide the minutes because the minutes will expose their incompetency, their inability to answer 80 or 85% of the questions that we had as it relates to staff. The president of the BNTU was in that meeting. The president of the APSSM was in that meeting. Representative from finance were in that meeting. And so this is not me inventing stories. This is saying to them, you were caught with your pants down. You were caught with your pants down, and you were unable to respond. And that's what we're calling for. Accountability of what happened in the amalgamation in terms of successes before we even start talk on statutory body.
Shouldn't they perhaps have brought in a technocrat of some sort, or a consultant for argument's sake, who specializes in this type of thing, that would be able to put together a proper structure for them to be able to amalgamate seamlessly? Shouldn't that, and of course, monitoring and evaluation aspect that looks at how this process is being rolled out and the effectiveness of it.
And with all due respect again to the Director General, there were competent people inside those 2 departments. There were competent people inside those 2 departments who were overlooked. And so the requisite expertise that was necessary to first of all oversee the amalgamation and, as you rightly said, monitor, evaluate, measure, let's see where we're going. That did not take place, has not taken place, and now they'll say, well, we want transition to SARA. And I have to put this out there. Why would I want to do this? That was the question. What really are the main reasons?
What's the end
game? The thing is that we don't have our authority or full control over who we hire, and so we've not hired the best, which again is a lie, because as a head of department, if you know your role and functions, no politician will be sending people who are not fit for purpose in a technical department. So if that's their confession, it brings to question the quality of people now that is handling our tax data. That is their response. The other thing she said, when it comes to disciplining people, well, the process is too onerous and the supervisors are not properly assessing people, it's difficult to dismiss people, and corruption is rampant. And lastly, people are not even doing the amount of audits to generate the amount of money that covers their salary. That was their response. The minutes will show that if they have the balls to share it. That was their response. So really and
So it would
truly,
seem
what
like
it's a management issue.
Yeah, but it would seem as though there's been a regression.
Right.
If you're looking at it from two separate entities where the general sales tax was operating individually and where the other one was operating individually, there would seem to be a regression as opposed to like they're moving backwards as opposed to moving forward in terms of how they intend to implement this thing.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That the amalgamation has not yielded the kind of economic gains that we had anticipated. It has not built the kind of accountable, transparent, and effective department that we had anticipated. Bear in mind again, $30 million was invested in there, 14 million US dollars. I remember that loan very well. So, brings us here now. Let's delve into the only fact that I heard on the news last week, because I would have anticipated that when you speak of facts, you would have then backed up your facts with data. You would have shown that your decision is being made based on data and it's data driven. It's not just how you feel or because you can discipline staff. It cannot be that. Then that doesn't require a structural change, because BTSD is not the only department that has this issue with how do you manage and deal with staff.
That's
and
a
deal with
management personnel
That's
issue.
across the public. Exactly. So the only fact that she spoke about were the options. Well, you could resign if you want. You could transition into the wider public service, or you can apply to the SARA. Now, resignation is straightforward, because you've decided that you don't want to continue. So
pretty
much
away from that.
You cash out where your gratuity is concerned, and if you're 50 to 55, you can hope and pray that your file will be processed in a timely fashion, and you could start receiving your pension. That in itself has not been looked at. Again, any responsible leader would have brought in a representative from the Treasury Department to say, this is an option that we're proposing to our employees. How can you make their transition into retirement easier so that they don't have to wait 1 year and 2 years for their pension? She's saying that's not my responsibility. You want to resign, the other pay your own. What kind of leader is that? The next thing, transfer to the wider public service. As I stated earlier, when the amalgamation happened between GST and Income Tax Department, certain people lost seniority. Certain people lost their ability to hold certain positions. So what do you think will happen here? Again, fatigue, change management fatigue. People just to recover from 2019 amalgamation, and they put them through it again. Again, it's unfair to these people. So how can you say I can simply transition? So if I transition, let's say I choose to go to Lands Department or in Immigration Department, any department where they can find a place for me, because the Minister of Public Service will say to you, he don't know upon here and put 236 people if all of them decide that they want transition out. But let's say 151 transition out, or over 50%. Where will you place them? And if you place them in a department that has no use for their skill set, then clearly, then going to waste time, and you have to reskill, retrain, and you lose all that investment that is made into these people. But more so, some of these people were placed on certain pay scales that might not fit within the new ministry. So you'll have to find a pay scale or a point on a pay scale that closely matches their salary, which could pretty much cause them to go on a lower pay scale while keeping the same salary. They lose money. What happened to the allowances that somebody already entitled to? You're no longer an officer that needs a vehicle or boat, so you won't lose money. So it's not simple that you just transition out and everything remains normal. No, you lose your seniority, because if you're not fitting, or if the organogram not have one position for you as a senior, then you lose seniority. You become a clerk, as happened with the company's registry, deputy director. I believe it was.
Become a regular person.
You lose your specialized roles. You lose allowances and pay pay scale. And then you don't know where the hell you're going. And does this mean we have to transfer to Curacao or Rinjwak? Because all of them can't stay at Belize City. We only have so much space. All of them can't go to the Auditor General Ministry. So that's the reality. So, and that's in the case of the auditors. No, remain in SARA. That's the final option. But if you remain in SARA, they're saying to you, you have to resign or apply. And if you get a job, you resign. Because, of course, it's a risk. Because if you resign, and I don't know how they'll do it, but they'll say to you, son, you want to remain here as an auditor. Your term in public service is coming to an end. So you have to resign. And you have to now attend an interview for a job that you already hold.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Isani goes to the interview. And the interviewing panel is not impressed with Isani. What happens to Isani? Well, we can't give you one auditor role, Isani, but maybe we could give you a lead clerk role if you got push paper. And now your whole salary structure, your whole life come tumbling down because now you have a mortgage. And you know, of course, they answer, well, you're getting a lead payout, but what if you don't have 10 years? Well, guess what? The undersecretary said, they don't have no vested period. The government is under no obligation to pay them anything, even though the Labour Act itself calls for payment after 5 years. This is how cold, insensitive these people are. And they need to be called out and held accountable. So now, if I can finish this point here, now they're saying, well, with the talk to the Ministry of Labour and the Ministry of Finance, we say, if we could give them something. You put people out, you should have had an exit package that is better than what is in the Labour Act or better than what, or as equal as what is in the public service regulation for these people who do not have a vested period in the public service that you put them out. No fault of theirs. So it has to be much more, the package has to be a little bit more lucrative. Attractive to incentivize these people to either stay for those who want to stay or request to leave. But all three options will put people or most people in a worse off situation. And that is the fact and that is the truth that they don't want the people to
know. All things considered here, let's look at the proposed rollout for SARA, because I've been hearing that December is part of what the timeline would be. But it doesn't seem, my opinion, that everything has been thought out properly for this to even be rolled out effectively come December.
Absolutely not, Isani. Like I said, I think the first thing that we need to do is assess the amalgamation. Secondly, rolling out SARA. December cannot be your projected timeline. And now, the fact that we're now questioning this, they're going around saying to staff that it is now April 2026. But even so,
it's not enough time.
It's not enough time for us to really assess what has occurred in the amalgamation, and it's not enough time to ensure that we'll get the quality of people and what this could possibly cause. And not would possibly cause. The exact same thing will happen with the amalgamation. We'll see a SARA that increases in size from 236 to 400 people. So clearly, you will have a bigger overhead costs, administrative overhead costs. That means now that you will draw down money that is now earmarked for education and health and other things, because now you have
to the wage bill once again.
But where is the numbers? Where is the projection? Where is the economic analysis that says the cost to collect will go down, revenue will increase by 50%, because staff alone will increase by 40%, and these are just wages at the current rate. Now, one of the incentives is that we will have our own pay structure, so now get more money. So we look for a significant increase of this, I believe $9 million right now in emoluments alone for these 400 people, so that could balloon to perhaps $20-25 million. Where will that money come from?
To the best of your knowledge, has there been a cost-benefit analysis to look at that?
Absolutely not. I sent the Director General an email. I said to her, thanks for inviting us to this meeting. Considering UNO had nothing to provide to us other than to say to us what UNO want to do, in clear breach of the Constitution and in clear breach of the regulations, can we look at some data? And we requested the tax gap analysis, we requested, well, you're going to economic analysis, some projections to see how this thing will work. How will you address the informal sector? How will you address the problem of tax evasion? How will you take the same department that is not functioning well, hire back the same people and think you want change overnight? You think, what are you doing? You can't just create change by changing the management structure.
Impulsively.
It's foolish. So we said to her, yo, we want minutes. We want any data that drive this process. This was her response. She speaks of rhetoric. Nothing in the response, not even the minutes she was able to provide. And as it relates to the other data, what she spoke with the data.
But wouldn't some of these transitions and so forth would deeply harm the taxpayer at the end of the day? So that comes to my next question in terms of why we, as ordinary citizens that are not part of the tax department or don't work there, that are employed there, how would this affect us?
All right, so let me get to that. But just quickly to share her response, and I really think that if she received legal advice for that statement that she read last week, she needs to go back for a change, because they gave her bad advice, and really and truly she said nothing. As it relates to what we requested, she said, we acknowledge your reference to the legal obligation to consult. Let me reiterate that the Belize Tax Services remain fully committed to meaningful and respectful consultation. But what you have not even started that. We're saying to you, as it relates to what we asked, as was clearly stated during the meeting, the official minutes will be shared once they have been finalized. It's 3 weeks now. The review and reviewed to ensure they are accurately reflect the discussions, and this has not been done. Regarding to the additional information requested, quickly, they will be sharing these and relevant materials as appropriate. But even if they want to share what they believe is appropriate, nothing has come to help guide this conversation. Now, the Belizean taxpayers, how will they be impacted? Well, they're already being impacted. Businesses can't get their GST refund because they couldn't get it right where the amalgamation is concerned. PAYE employees for past 5-6 years can't get their refund. I used to get my refund in less than 6 months. I'm a government employee. So I could tell you that I used to get my refund. Now we hear the teachers can't get a refund. We hear the private sector people then can't get a refund. When it comes to registering and interacting with the new database, you can hear the complaints from the Belizean sector. You're not getting no response. I myself is a victim of that, and I would have written the DG, or I would have spoken to her personally. I send no an email for give me my login information. Who is monitoring these systems? Nobody. Because I could speak from that from personal experience. And the minutes of course, the project steering committee meetings will reflect that it has not been a seamless amalgamation of services. And so we're in a mess where the amalgamation is concerned, and here we are now wanting to transition to SARA because management can't hold accountable the employees. No real data-driven decision-making is happening here just based on emotions, and how I feel about you. And you know what? Maybe an answer to everybody, I could fire you quicker.
Do you think, and this is my final question for you, Dean, do you think that anywhere in this entire system, I refer to it as such, that it would create room or space for certain aspects of this operation to be farmed out to private entities or what have you?
Well, of course. Well, one, the minute you take a government department and you put it under a board, then that legislation gives that board full authority to execute. And so there could be further outsourcing of services, from BTSD. And like I said, the impact of this will ultimately be felt by the Belizean people, because now, rather than all these revenues, and of course they will use this, they will see that all the revenues will continue to be channeled into the Consolidated Revenue Fund. And while that is good, the reality is we don't know what provision will be in the legislation fit what comes out. And so no doubt in anybody's mind, just on what has been presented, we're expecting the cost to balloon, if not triple. And I'm looking at a triple digit here in terms of running this thing. And if your service out to be able to now accommodate, again, how are boards appointed? They're appointed by the Prime Minister.
It's political appointment.
It's a political appointment. So this is your largest revenue generating department.
My fear is, if it creates this room for there to be outsourcing of certain aspects of the operation, then you're looking at the likelihood that it could be farmed out to a crony. Certain critical aspects of this could be given to a company who has no experience or no knowledge how to handle the magnitude of work and what have you, and it's our taxpayers' dollars
that will be paying that person,
private or business or otherwise, that are going to be affected.
Let me caution the Belizean people. Let's look at the statutory bodies that exist. The biggest slush fund, the BTB, no accountability. So you want to take your biggest revenue generating authority, turn it into a statutory body when you already have one cash cow called BTB, where the whole concert and can even give a financial report, funding schools, streets, all kind of thing, and do not come and say, in accordance with the law, these are the financial statements. The trouble we look for, Isani, and the Belizean people need to understand that while that the structure, the systems are not in place to facilitate this kind of transition at this point in time, right? You need to ensure that you fix what is currently broken. You can't fix whether or not they measure, whether or not they assess. You can't fix that. So we have to fix these things before we do this type of transition. We got KHMH, which has turned into a nightmare for those workers. And this is one of the things that we have to safeguard now for these employees, that they don't lose their tenure. You're saying to me, after 25 years of being in the tax services department, that I won't lose my gratuity or my pension. Well, guess what? You're putting a brakes on my ability to on the ability of my pension to continue earn. So that not like if I want to get my pension money up front, I still have to wait till I'm 55. So if I started at 20, I'm now 45. I have 25 years in a Belize tax services department. 25 years. Government want to put that pampas till either 55 or 60. What happens to that? Who will use that money? Why can't my money be invested so that it can be generating 6 or 7% interest? And also, when I cut off that 25 years, I want my new pension to kick in so that I do not lose, because I will ultimately lose, or I want to end up like KHMH, no provident fund can start. I want to end up like Baja, no pension scheme exists. We could go to the library services, another failed statutory body, because it has not yielded. You have the statutory bodies like PAC, like Niche. These places don't provide the kind of economic benefits that currently these people enjoy at the public service. So we have a duty and an obligation to learn what we did, not necessarily what we did wrong when those statutorization occurred, but the gaps that we now identify we needed to close. So that is what we want to do, to say that no, we have to protect the people that we represent, and we also have to ensure that we sensitize the Belizean public that you also will suffer if this goes wrong. You will suffer seriously if this goes wrong, because once there's a shortfall in revenues that what we're currently earning, that tax difference has to come through loans or in a greater tax implementation.
Well, Mr. Flowers, this has been a very insightful conversation. We definitely will keep an eye on this topic. As you rightfully mentioned, it does affect every single one of us. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope that you join us back for more of this conversation.
Thanks very much. Always willing and available to share the facts as they are calling that we share, and I hope that they will challenge any of the facts that we would have discussed this morning through meaningful dialogue, conversation, data, whatever it is that they believe they can present back to the Belizean people. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We're going to take another quick break and we'll be back with more Open Your Eyes. Don't go away.
Oh man, one more scroll and my data is done.
Wait, who said anything about running out? Smart just dropped a more powerful plan that now includes social media data so you can scroll till your fingers cramp.
Enjoy free social media data now included in our Flex Choice and Select postpaid plans.
Visit any Smart showroom to sign up today because connectivity just got even better. Smart, bringing people together.
Hi there. Are you on your phone right now, scrolling on social media, listening to the radio, or watching TV? Have you ever stopped to think, what's powering my device right now? You see, electricity is essential for everyday life, powering our homes, businesses, transportation, and of course, that one binge-worthy series that you just can't stop watching. But how does it all work? This season on the What's and Why's of Energy, we're taking you behind the scenes, bringing you the latest updates and answers to your biggest energy questions. My name is Emmanuel Petch, and I invite you to join us as we go live on Facebook and get ready to see energy in a whole new light. Like, share, and follow us to be part of the conversation.
Belize Electricity Limited, providing you safe and reliable power when you need it.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for sticking with us. And joining us for our third conversation are the folks from the Belize Tourism Board, and it's all about renewing the standard of Belizean hospitality. Joining us on the couch, we have Geneva Joseph, and she is the compliance controller over at BTB. Good morning.
Good morning.
And of course, no stranger to the show, Mr. Jacob Leslie, in a different capacity as the registrar of hotels over at BTB. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Morning. Thanks for having us. Hi, good morning. Thank you for having us.
All right, so we're talking more about your BTB accommodation renewal clinic. Let's get started with what that is and how our persons within the hotel and hospitality services can get be a part of this.
Okay.
Well, one of the complaints I gathered when I became the registrar of hotels maybe a little over a year ago was the inconsistency in the time frame in renewing your hotel license, right? And obviously this has some major implication on hoteliers because they have major investments and these things hinder their ability to generate revenues. And so we started dialoguing and trying to see how we can put processes in place to give fixed timelines for these things so that people can say, if I apply by this time, I can receive it by this time. And what we're attempting to do for the first time at BTB is to do clinics, and we go to these jurisdictions, excuse me, and we are there in person. We have all the relevant personnel there, and we tell you bring the relevant documents, whether on a flash drive, or if you have the physical documents, we'll scan them and upload them to our portal. And we're preparing to issue license same day. Right, so we have the betting officers there, we have the tax officers there, we have the finance department there. Myself will be there to sign off the licenses. And so we're trying to fix the complaints that we found in the industry. And again, it's the first time we've attempting to do this. And so we're hopeful that people come out. And again, we launched our portal maybe early this year or late last year. And so there might be people who are not comfortable with it. And so we're telling them to come out, let us walk through it together. And so that we can have the kind of turnout that we want and the success that we want from this initiative.
Do you find that this particular approach has generated interest among stakeholders in the hotel and tourism sector?
Yeah, I think they are excited for it. I think it shows them that there are changes that are being made that are benefiting the complaints that they've had, right? So I think it has been received well, and we're hoping that we can execute it well as well, right?
When do you all plan to host your first set of clinics?
So we are going to commence the clinics May 15th.
Not May, August.
August.
Like, oh, I understand.
We're going to commence the clinic August 15th. We're going to start in Orange Walk, and then we move on to Key Calker and San Pedro, and then we're going to go to Hopkins and Placencia, and then we move on to Belize City. We have Cayo, Toledo, Corozal, as well as Belmopan. So we're trying to hit all the major destinations so that the stakeholder will have an opportunity to come to one of the clinics near them, if it's not specifically in their destination, so that they would be able to renew their license before it expires.
What sort of documentation or requirements do they need to bring in order for their license to be approved?
So this is a renewal. Majority of them have already submitted all the documents that they need to receive a license from the BTB and operate within the industry. So what we are asking them to do when it's renewal is for them to provide us with updated copies of these documents, because some of them already expired. So they would need to bring updated copies of their business registry certificates, as well as updated approval documents. We have the fire department, the public health department, the central building authority, and it depends if their building authority approval has expired or not. That is valid for 4 years. And then of course we ask them for updated IDs for managers and owners, because again, some of those IDs might have already expired.
What is the end game here? Is it to make this as easy and accessible a process for those who are already invested in the hotel and the services sector?
Yeah, it definitely is, and as well, we want to ensure that October 31st, when these licenses are expired, that they already have the new ones.
Yeah.
Right, so you won't have any gaps where people are operating illegally without a license. And many times they say the process is too tedious, they say the process is confusing. And so this process to ensure we take away those barriers that the stakeholders may face. And we are there, we are in a jurisdiction, we are here to help, we are here to walk you through the process. And again, you can walk away in August with a new license that is for the next 2 years, right? So we've opened the renewal season now so that we have August and September and October to get all of these applications in, renewed, and the stakeholders can operate legal within the environment.
What do you find that, notwithstanding everything that you guys are doing to make this a seamless transition from one to the other, that some businesses would wait until the last minute to try to get this out?
And again, we want to warn and advise that it is illegal to operate a accommodation without a license, right? So if you choose to wait until last minute and then you're found not having all the relevant documents required, and then October 31st hits you, well, when BTB issues you a fine, you can't say, oh, it's unfair, right? Yeah. Because from August, we've been at it, and we've actually, since March, had our team send out emails to all these stakeholders, advising them what they need to bring specifically, because some people documents might be valid, some might be invalid, so they would know, all right, your CBA, which is for 4 years, is expiring this year, so you need to get a new one from now. You might not need a CBA, you only need these 3 documents. So these people, we have been communicating with them since March. And so we're hopeful that they have been receiving these emails, and if they haven't, obviously we are telling them that let them contact the BTB so we can advise them specifically prior to the date. But we're giving them enough time, right? So even if they come to the clinics and they're missing 1 or 2 documents, well, they still have until October to submit these things through the portal, and then we can fix it at that point and then issue the license before.
And the online portal really is to have this, paperless way of transitioning, making sure that they get their license renewed quick, fast, and so forth. But you still have persons, like you said, are not that tech savvy. They're not
exactly.
Too familiar with the portal. So will you also be assisting them and guiding them in how to, for next time and for future references?
Yes. So for all the clinics, we will have compliance officers present, and they're going to be assisting stakeholders with showing them how to use the portal and uploading their documents for this renewal. And if it's where they are comfortable with when their next renewal comes on board and they would like to do it at home, then they will be more than happy to do that. But as well, depending on the outcome of this clinic, we plan to make it an annual thing where we would go out and help them, because we do have most of our stakeholders that would prefer that one-on-one with the BTB when they're there. If they have any questions or if they have any concerns, then we would be able to address it there as it relates to their renewals and their documentations.
Since these
Another thing that's very important with the portal and why we're enforcing that it has to be done through the portal is because it gives us accountability, right? Too many times stakeholders will be sending their application, but maybe sending it to a direct licensing officer, and it just sits there, and then there's nobody else who was aware that it's even there. And so it gives us an ability to track it. So when it comes in, me and Geneva can see it, we can assign it to our licensing officer, and we can say, all right, that's been on your desk for 2 days, why hasn't it moved? So there's an accountability there where we can guarantee a delivery service, a delivery time within the service, right? When it's sent to Geneva's desk alone, and only she knows. And then I get a call and said, well, I've sent an application a month ago and no response. Well, we didn't get it through our official email, where is it? And then you have to track it and find it, and then, so just to make sure that we're offering a service and that stakeholders understand, when you use the portal, it puts the onus on us. Like, we now have the structure in place that we can identify these applications, we can track our delivery time, and then we can put things in place to make it more efficient as well.
So for the renewal clinic, since you're having them countrywide, your first stop is Orange Walk.
Orange Walk, yes.
When, where, what time?
So we're going to be at the Maracas Conference Room in Orange Walk. It starts at 10 a.m. and it finishes at 5 p.m. So we're going to be there for the entire day. And for us to be able to facilitate and get these licensing done within 1 day, it takes a team of us. So we are urging everyone to take advantage of the opportunity and come out, because as Mr. Jacob says, that it is a process, and it would go from the compliance officer who does the vetting, but then they need to verify that they have met their compliance percentage for the minimum standards as it relates to the standards of their accommodation. So that would then go to someone else who would be present. Then it goes to make sure that their taxes are up to date. Then we would do the final sign off and we would issue them the license. So it would be best for them to take advantage of the clinic so that they can get all of that done in 1 day. Give or take, it takes about 2 weeks if you go through the regular process.
And what date?
We're going to begin August 15th.
August 15th. And for the future clinics, where can they find more information about it?
So on our BTB Facebook, we have the clinic schedule. We have contacted all the stakeholders who require a renewal this cycle. They have received the different clinic dates, and then they could always contact us at hotels at BelizeTourismBoard.org if they would need any more information.
Okay. Final words as we wrap up our conversation this morning?
Well, I want to echo what Ms. Joseph said. I think it's very important for a stakeholder to take advantage of it. I want to remind them again, as I said earlier, we're doing all of this to ensure that everybody is compliant, right? And we want to make sure that everybody is operating legally within the space. And I think the process is a very simple one. And I know, again, that there are a lot of stakeholders, because of their uncomfortability with the program, they are paying people to do this service for them, and we want to show them how easy it is for them to do, that they can do it themselves. And again, if they in the future don't want to do it, we will always be there every year to do it. It saves them money, because I think there's a lot of people within the industry taking advantage of our stakeholders, because they make it seem like it's such a tedious process. And so we invite them to come out, we'll walk them through this process, and again, make it as easy as possible for them to be compliant and to be in good standing with the BTB and to operate legally within our environment, right?
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and best of luck with the clinics. The first one begins August 15th, 10 a.m. at the Maracas Conference Room in Orange Walk. Thank you all so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we'll take another short break, and we'll be back with more Open Your Eyes.
is where blue innovation meets green ambition and orange creativity thrives. Join us for the Belize Investment Summit 2025, September 3rd to 5th at the Sunset Caribe in San Pedro. This is the future of regional integration, and it starts here. Whether you're returning home, expanding regionally, or entering new markets, Belize welcomes you. Why Belize? Why now? Belize Investment Summit 2025, Bridging Markets, Building Resilience. September 3rd to 5th, Sunset Caribe, San Pedro. Visit investmentsummit.bz to register and be part of shaping the investment frontier.
Get ready for back to school with Benny's B-Books. We have limited edition Benny's exercise and composition books just in time for the new school year. Get 6 composition books for 5 B-Bucks and 12 exercise books for only 2 B-Bucks. Benny's and B-Bucks, getting you ready for back to school.
We are ready for back to school. Are you?
Oh man, one more scroll and my data is done.
Wait, who said anything about running out? Smart just dropped a more powerful plan that now includes social media data so you can scroll till your fingers cramp.
Enjoy free social media data now included in our Flex Choice and Select postpaid plans.
Visit any Smart showroom to sign up today because connectivity just got even better. Smart, bringing people together.
And welcome back. Our final conversation this morning is all about exploring the future of Belizean property in the 21st century. We have been joined by General Manager of Century 21, Dorian Peakman, who's going to talk to us about real estate and a fair that's upcoming. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning. I like that. Exploring property, Belizean property in the 21st century.
Yes,
and it goes hand in hand with the brand Century 21. So that's nice. Yeah, Isani, I'm here this morning representing Century 21, and this weekend we're having a real estate fair in Belize City. So we'll have pop-ups as well. So a lot of local businesses will be there on hand. We have Soul Clay Jewelry, I believe, Candles by K, Blossoming Successes. These are all local brands that people are familiar with that appear at pop-ups throughout the city and throughout the country. We'll also have mechas, which is very popular. Right. You come out and get those margaritas. And we'll have other food options as well. We'll have Dilma teas having a display there as well. But more importantly, what we want to highlight and showcase are properties that we have listed with Century 21. And we want to showcase a lot of the more affordable properties. So we're targeting first-time homeowners or first-time landowners. That's really the target audience for this real estate fair.
Okay.
There's this notion, perhaps it's a misconception that people have where real estate is concerned, that it's primarily for persons who are intending to invest in Belize, but not necessarily those who we consider to be locals, Belizeans. When you think real estate, we think, okay, it's a foreigner who's going to come in and purchase property.
Yeah, and we have to try to get away, and Belizeans really have to try to get away from that mindset where they look at real estate investment or expatriates coming in and investing in Belize. And what's happening is we have the opportunity to do it, that we're here now. And I would really try to encourage people to kind of look into it and invest, for Belizeans to invest in their own country, and that's kind of why we're having this. If you look at the market right now, property has been appreciating and appreciates yearly. We like the Belizean mindset in terms of, you would go and finance a vehicle at $50,000, you know, with a 10% interest rate. You have some financial institutions offering interest rates for property purchases at 7%, some as low as 5% even. And this is not something that depreciates 10 minutes after you purchase it and drive it off the lot. You know, this is something that appreciates with time that you can hand down to generations after you. So we really need to start thinking about real estate as an investment here in Belize in terms of, you know, a lot of people like to say that's kind of the Belizean stock market. We don't really have a stock market in Belize, but people who are savvy use real estate. Yes, they invest in real estate. And, you know, real estate is one of those things where a lot of people use it to hedge themselves against inflation, you know.
What sort of information can we expect from this fair? And I ask specifically because the majority of your populace in Belize are young people. And they probably never owned a property before. They're the middle class to lower class in terms of income. And so for them, it would probably, in their minds, probably be better to rent something than to invest in a property. So what sort of information or guidance or advice can we receive from this fair?
Well, we've partnered with several financial institutions and they will be on site this Saturday, and it's at the Batalco parking lot at number 1 North Front Street. It's right at the corner of North Front Street and Knopp Street, across from the Century 21 office. That's the location. But like I said, we'll have representatives from the various financial institutions on site. We'll have loan officers from the Belize Bank. They'll be there to support with lending options, and you can get approved on the spot actually for financing. We'll have representatives from the Development Finance Corporation. We'll have representatives, I believe Sagicor confirmed, and they're one of the lending institutions that are offering loans as low as 5%. So 5% interest. So that's incredible. Also, I believe we'll have a representative from one of the major credit unions as well. We'll have representatives from BWS, because a question that we have is in terms of utilities and connection. So we'll have representatives from the public utilities as well. So,
what interest are we hoping to generate from this, other than perhaps being able to sell some properties, right? Is it that we want to inform Belizeans and anybody else out there that there are all these properties to look at from various price points and what have you?
Yeah, I mean, we just want to build awareness and create awareness to what's out there, and also to help people. That's why we've partnered with the financial institutions to provide lending options and give more information as well about those various lending options. And also, we have properties for as low as $40,000. You know, so that's a great entry level. And so we have a block of properties, about 40 properties in the Los Lagos area, which is a developed community, already developed. A lot of middle class residents, middle to upper class residents, utilities are already there, infrastructure is already there. I know you had the mayor on this morning, he lives in the same community. So, I mean, it's a really great community to get in, and at an entry point of $45,000, it's a great investment.
And this is catered to Belizeans from across the country, right? So if I want to see a property in PG, per se.
Yeah, and we have properties, I mean, and we're not limited to just those properties. We will have a shuttle on site to take people to some of the properties that are within range, like the Los Lagos property, perhaps. You know, they can go and they can view the property and kind of walk the property and get a feel for it. So we'll provide that service as well on Saturday. But we have properties in, like you said, in PG. We have properties available in Key Cocker. We have properties available in Corozal. So we have properties available all over. Like I said, we're showcasing the more affordable properties, but anybody can come out and, you know, if you have interest in buying property anywhere in the country, Century 21, of course, we have listings all over.
To the best of your knowledge, is this the first real estate fair? Because Maybe I'm behind on it, so you'll forgive me.
No. And we've participated in others before. So banks typically tend to have loan fairs where they'll invite the real estate companies. Lately, I've seen they've been doing a lot of it with the auto dealers where they have loan fairs for automobiles, and they've had loan fairs for real estate as well that we participated in. But we just decided to take this on our own, and we've invited some of those banks and financial institutions to come on board and assist us with the financing portion of it. So we're just doing it on our own with just our listings that we have available.
I think my final question would be for somebody that is interested in looking at a property, first time person looking at a property, what would be some of their requirements? What would they need?
Really, I mean, for Belizeans, I mean, you really don't need much other than, if you have financially options. So I should mention as well for Saturday, we've tried to take all the complications and difficulties out of this. So we do have appraisals. A lot of the banks will require you have an appraisal before they approve you for lending. So what we've done, we've already gotten some of the properties appraised, and we'll have a special. So it's usually an appraisal costs about $400 to do. We've gotten it down to where it's $250. You pay your $250, you get your appraisal, you take it to the loan officer right there on site. You can get pre-approved and purchase the property right there immediately. So
yeah, that does take away a lot of the stress.
Yeah. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible for people coming out.
All right. So one more time for our viewers, when, where, what time should they be out there, and what should we expect?
It's Saturday, this coming Saturday, August 9th, at the Batalco parking lot, right at the corner of Map Street and North Front Street. And it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And again, we'll have various pop-up vendors, and we'll have drinks on sale with mechas. There will be food options available, and more importantly, you can come out and take a look at affordable properties that you can purchase.
All right. Well, Dorian, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And if you are interested in any of these properties, if you just want to hear more about it, of course, head on down to the 21st Century Real Estate Fair that's taking place. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back to wrap things up. Don't go away.
Miss the ultimate singing showdown. It's KTV The Remix Season 7 every Tuesday night at 8, live from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. One stage, one voice, one chance to win $10,000. Get your tickets for just $5 at GBM Studios in Coney Drive or 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. It's music, talent, and entertainment for the whole family. Don't miss it. KTV The Remix Season 7. Tune in, turn up, and sing along every Tuesday night at 8. Only on Greater Belize Media. Welcome back. Thank you guys so much for sticking
working with us here at Open Your Eyes. And we want to say a big thank you to all of our guests that came in and had the important conversations with us this morning. And of course, a big thank you to our viewers for starting your morning right here with us on OYE. It is August 4th. It's already August. It is August 4th. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday to you from all of us here at OYE at GBM. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or a comment, you can drop us a line right here at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYE Belize. And if you have a concern or a question, you can send us a text at our WhatsApp number. That's 675-2555. And of course, you can do us a favor and join us again tomorrow when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon, Belize. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Goodbye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and SMART, bringing people together.